Have you ever played around with AI art tools and thought, this is fun, but is this really for serious creative work?
Yeah, like it's cool for a quick image or messing around, but not for, professional stuff.
Exactly. And that's what we're diving into today. We're looking at Flora, and they're trying to change all that.
Flora.
Yeah, Flora. They're calling their platform an infinite canvas, and they're aiming it specifically at, well, professionals, people who want to use AI as a real tool in their work.
Interesting. So where are we getting all this from?
We're pulling from this TechCrunch article about Flora. And what's really interesting is the article's not even about AI art itself, really.
It's not.
It's more focused on how Flora is trying to bridge this gap,
Yeah.
the gap between AI and the people who are serious about using it to create.
Ah, okay, I see.
Hmm.
Because there's been all this hype about AI art, but it hasn't really broken into the professional world in a major way.
Yeah, and the article lays out the problem pretty clearly. A lot of the AI art generators out there now are fun and easy, sure, but they don't give professionals the kind of control they need.
Right. And then the pro design software that does offer that control can be a pain to use.
It's like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Totally.
So Flora's trying to come in with this infinite canvas interface and give you both ease and power.
Infinite canvas. What's that all about? I'm picturing, like, just an endless white space.
I was kind of picturing that too, but it's more like, imagine you have this digital workspace, right? And you can actually visually map out your whole creative process there.
Okay.
So everything's on this canvas, your images, text, even audio if you're working on something multimedia. And you can see how everything connects and relates visually.
Ah, so it's not just about the AI generating stuff. It's about how you work with it all.
Right. And you can use the AI to make variations of things on the fly, like a constantly evolving mood board or something.
Yeah. So it's dynamic. You're not limited to a static page. That's pretty cool.
And the cool thing is, Flora's not even trying to build new AI models.
They're not?
Nope. They're more into creating a better interface for using the models that already exist.
So they're like saying the ingredients are already out there, but you need the right kitchen to make something amazing.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
So who are they building this kitchen for? Anyone who wants to use it?
Well, right now they seem to be focusing on visual design agencies.
Design agencies, huh? Targeting the pros right out of the gate.
Yep. And they're working with, get this, Pentagram.
Pentagram. No way, they're huge.
I know, right?
Yeah.
So they're going for the big leagues. They want to help designers seriously up their game.
Like, how much are they saying they can improve a designer's output?
They're talking about 100 times increase.
100? That's wild.
Think about it. You could generate tons of logo variations in minutes. Try out all these different concepts super fast. It's like putting your design process on fast forward.
But let's be real, a lot of artists are kind of wary of AI and art, right? How's Flora dealing with that?
Well, they have to address that skepticism.
Yeah.
And the founder, Wong, has said that he doesn't expect to win over everyone right away.
So who are they going after?
He's called them AI curious. People who are at least open to seeing how these tools can be useful.
Makes sense. What's Wong's story, by the way? What made him start Flora?
He's got an interesting background. He was actually an investor, but he left because he said he wasn't the kind of founder he would want to invest in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So he went to NYU's Interactive Telecommunications program to get more hands-on experience with tech and art.
That's pretty cool.
And for their launch, Flora actually did this art project that showed off their real-time AI stuff.
Oh, what'd they do?
They had a live feed on their website from a camera, wait for it, mounted on Wong's head, and people could use the AI to mess with the footage live.
Seriously? That's a pretty out there way to launch a platform aimed at professionals.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit of a contrast.
They're walking a tightrope, that's for sure. Trying to grab attention, but also be taken seriously.
It's a tricky balance, but they're doing it in a space where people have a lot of strong opinions about AI and art. Like, there's a real fear out there that AI is going to take over the art world.
And it's not just about the fear of being replaced, right? There are ethical and legal questions too, especially about copyright.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
So how's Flora approaching that whole copyright mess?
Well, they've been very clear that they're not training their own AI models. They're using existing models from other companies.
Oh, interesting. So that helps them avoid some of those copyright headaches.
It could, at least in part, by using models that already have licensing agreements and all that, they can sidestep some of the legal battles other platforms have faced.
Smart move. But I bet it doesn't solve everything, right?
Oh, definitely not. Figuring out copyright when users are creating new stuff on their platform using those models, that's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Feels like there's no easy answer right now.
It's a whole new world, legally speaking. There's no real precedent for this kind of AI-assisted creation. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out.
I guess that's where we come in. We'll have to keep our eyes on this and see how it develops.
Absolutely. It's going to be fascinating. But I think for Flora, being transparent with their users is going to be key. They need to lay out how copyright works on their platform, what rights people have, all that.
And be ready to adapt as the laws change.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's a moving target, and they're going to have to stay flexible. But it's not just about the legal stuff either, right? They need to create a culture where people respect copyright within the Flora community.
That's a good point, like building a set of ethical guidelines that go beyond just the law.
Exactly. And I think that actually connects back to Wong's whole thing about avoiding AI slop.
Oh, yeah, he's been pretty vocal about that.
He doesn't just want Flora to be about churning out generic content. He wants it to be about empowering artists to create something unique and original, work that respects those traditions of copyright and intellectual property.
It's a lofty goal, for sure. We'll see how they manage to balance those ethical ideals with, the actual nuts and bolts of building this platform.
Yeah, it's one thing to have a vision, it's another to actually pull it off.
Well, there are definitely some practical challenges, right? Like, can they make this infinite canvas concept user-friendly, even for people who aren't super tech savvy? Can they make it powerful enough for professionals without it becoming like this clunky mess?
Tons of questions. But they
Yeah.
seem to be putting a lot of thought into it.
And it definitely helps that they've got Wong leading the charge. With his background in both investing and art, he brings a really unique perspective.
Right, he gets both sides of the coin, and I think we
Yeah.
saw that in their launch strategy, even with that wacky art project they did.
Yeah, that live feed from his head was a bold move for sure. You wouldn't expect that from a company trying to attract serious creative professionals.
Definitely unexpected. But it got people talking, and that's never a bad thing for a startup.
So they've got the vision. They're addressing the ethical stuff. They're willing to take risks. But have they been able to get any investors on board? Can they actually build this thing?
They've actually done really well on the funding front. They've got some major investors backing them.
Like who?
Well, there's A16Z Games Speedrun, Menlo Ventures, and even some angel investors from companies like Midjourney.
Wow, that's a pretty impressive lineup.
Yeah, it's a big vote of confidence. Not just the money either, but the connections and expertise those investors bring. It shows Flora is being taken seriously.
So they've got the resources to make this happen.
They do, and it feels like they have a real advantage in this space that's getting more and more crowded every day. Lots of companies are trying to figure out the whole AI and creativity thing, but Flora seems to be ahead of the pack in a lot of ways.
I wonder, though, are they going to stick with just design agencies long term? Or do you think they'll branch out to other creative fields?
I think it's just a matter of time before they expand. What they're doing with this infinite canvas could apply to all kinds of creative work. Music, film, writing, you name it.
It's like they're creating a whole new model for how creative work gets done.
Exactly. And it'll be fascinating to see how they grow and change in the coming years. Will they be able to maintain that focus on quality as they get bigger?
Will they be able to handle all those tricky legal and ethical questions?
Lots of challenges ahead. But they're definitely asking the right questions and pushing boundaries, and that's what makes them so exciting to watch.
They're not just building a product. They're trying to shape the future of creativity.
And that brings us back to you, the listener.
Yeah.
How do you see AI fitting into your own creative process? Are you excited about it? A little nervous, maybe?
What role do you think it's going to play in your creative life? Because this isn't just some abstract idea. This is happening now, and it's going to affect us all in some way.
We're at a turning point, and we each have to decide how we want to approach this.
Do we embrace it and use AI to, amplify our creativity? Or do we resist and risk being left behind?
It's a tough question. But it's important to have these conversations to explore all the possibilities and the risks. And that's what we're trying to do here, right? Give you the information so you can make up your own mind.
So as we start to wrap up this deep dive into Flora, I want to leave you with one final thought. Imagine a world where AI is just a normal part of the creative process, where artists and designers are working with AI to create really unique and original work.
A world full of possibilities, both good and bad, really. And it's up to us, the humans, to make sure it's used for good.
It's a big responsibility, but it's also a huge opportunity. We have the power to shape the future of creativity, and that's worth thinking about.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.
It's really interesting how much Flora is emphasizing the interface.
Yeah, like Wong keeps saying that the AI model itself isn't the key to creativity.
It's how you interact with it.
Exactly. Like you could have the most amazing AI in the world, but if it's stuck behind this clunky interface,
It's useless.
totally. The magic happens when you have a tool that lets you like seamlessly blend AI into your process.
Which is where this whole infinite canvas thing comes in.
Yeah, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around what that actually looks like, like in practice.
Okay, so imagine this. You're working on a logo, right? You start with a basic concept,
Okay.
maybe a simple icon, and you put it on this canvas.
Right.
Now with Flora, instead of being stuck with that one static element, you can use the AI to generate variations.
So I could see like different styles of the icon.
Exactly. Or different color palettes.
So instead of having to create those variations myself, the AI is doing the work for me.
Yeah. And it's not just about one element.
So,
Let's say you also want to play around with different fonts for the logo.
okay.
You can use AI to generate those too, and then see how those fonts work with all the different icon variations you've already made.
And this is all happening visually, right, on the canvas.
Right. So you're not just looking at a list of options
You're seeing how everything works together.
in real time.
Yeah.
It's so different from how traditional design software works.
It sounds like it.
Flora is turning design into something way more fluid and dynamic.
That's pretty cool. But where does the human element come in?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like, if the AI is generating all these variations, is the designer just picking from a menu?
That gets to the heart of what Flora's trying to do. The goal isn't to replace the designer, it's to give them better tools.
To augment them.
Right. The designer is still the one making the decisions, choosing which variations to explore, shaping the final design.
So the AI is more like,
The creative partner.
yeah, constantly suggesting ideas, but
Mhm.
you're the one in control.
Exactly. And remember, Flora's really focused on design agencies.
Right.
So think about how this could change how they work.
Like, instead of presenting a client with a couple of logo concepts,
You could show them dozens, each with its own unique style and variations. Wow.
all laid out on this infinite canvas, it's a totally new way of presenting creative work.
Yeah, it's like you're giving the client a glimpse into your process.
And it could open up some crazy possibilities for collaboration, too.
Oh, how so?
Well, the client could actually interact with the canvas, give you feedback on different variations.
That's really interesting. So it's more of a back and forth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It could lead to a much more dynamic relationship between the designer and the client.
Okay, so this all sounds really amazing, but part of me is still a little hesitant.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm thinking, is there a risk that this kind of technology could lead to, like, a homogenization of design?
Ah, so you're thinking if everyone's using the same AI models, working within the same interface,
Will everything end up looking the same?
that's a valid concern. And it's something we need to be mindful of as AI gets more integrated into the creative process. But it's important to remember that AI is just a tool.
Okay.
And like any tool, it can be used in different ways. It's up to the designer to use their creativity, their vision, to make something unique.
Right. It's not about letting the AI dictate the design. It's about using it to push your own creative boundaries.
To explore ideas you might not have come up with on your own.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot between human creativity and AI,
I like that.
where they work together to create something truly original.
That makes sense. But even if Flora manages to build this amazing platform and they get all these creative professionals using it,
They still have to deal with the whole copyright issue.
yeah. I'm curious to hear more about how they're planning to handle that.
Well, as we said before, they're not training their own AI models,
Right, they're using models from other companies.
which, helps them avoid some of those copyright issues,
Right.
but it doesn't solve everything. They still have to figure out what happens when users create new works using those models.
On their platform.
Exactly. It's a complicated issue, and honestly, there's no easy answer.
Yeah, it feels like we're in uncharted territory here.
We are. There's no legal precedent for this kind of AI-assisted creation, so it's going to be fascinating to see how this plays out.
Transparency is going to be key, right?
Oh, absolutely. Flora needs to be upfront with their users about how copyright works on their platform, what rights they have when they create something using Flora.
And they need to be ready to adapt as things change.
For sure. It's a constantly evolving situation. But it's not just about the legal stuff. It's about fostering a culture of respect for copyright within the Flora community.
Yeah, building those ethical guidelines we were talking about.
Right, and I think that goes back to Wong's whole thing about avoiding AI slop. He doesn't want Flora to just be a tool for churning out generic content.
He wants it to be about creating original work.
Work that respects copyright and intellectual property.
It's ambitious, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But building this platform also presents a lot of technical challenges.
Oh yeah, can they actually make this infinite canvas concept intuitive and easy to use, even for designers who aren't, tech wizards?
Right. And can they make it powerful enough for professionals without it becoming a clunky mess?
Lots of questions. But they seem to be approaching it thoughtfully. And I think Wong's background is a huge asset here.
Definitely, he understands both the business side and the artistic side.
And I think we saw that in their launch, with that playful art project with the live feed from his head.
That was definitely a bold choice.
It was risky, but it got people's attention.
So they've got the vision, they're tackling the ethical issues, they're willing to take risks.
But can they actually build a sustainable business?
Yeah, have they been able to get any investors?
They have, and not just any investors, some big names.
Like who?
Well, they've got A16Z Games Speedrun, Menlo Ventures,
Wow.
and even some angel investors from companies like Midjourney.
That's pretty impressive.
It is. It shows that people who understand both the tech world and the art world are taking Flora seriously.
It's like they've got the best of both worlds.
And that gives them a real leg up in this competitive landscape. There are a lot of companies trying to figure out this whole AI and creativity thing.
But Flora seems to be ahead of the game.
In a lot of ways. But what about their long-term strategy? Do you think they'll stick with just design agencies?
Or will they branch out to other creative fields?
I think it's inevitable. What they're doing with the infinite canvas could be applied to all kinds of creative work. Music, film, writing, you name it.
It's like they're creating a new paradigm.
For creative work.
And it'll be fascinating to see how they evolve. Will they be able to maintain that commitment to quality as they grow?
Will they be able to navigate all the legal and ethical complexities of AI? So many questions.
But they're asking the right question.
And pushing the boundaries.
That's what makes them so exciting to watch. They're not just building a product, they're shaping the future of creativity.
Which brings us back to you, the listener. How do you see AI fitting into your creative process?
Are you excited? Apprehensive. What role do you think AI will play in your creative life?
Because this isn't just some theoretical discussion.
This is happening right now.
And it's going to affect us all in some way. We're at a crossroads.
Do we embrace the power of AI and use it to boost our creativity?
Or do we resist and risk being left behind?
That's a big question.
It is, but we need to be having these conversations, exploring both the benefits and the risks of AI, and that's what we're trying to do here.
To give you the information so you can make your own decisions.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive into Flora, I want you to imagine a world where AI is just a seamless part of the creative process.
Where artists and designers are working alongside AI, creating unique and original work.
A world full of potential, for better or worse.
And it's up to us to guide the development of AI and make sure it's used for good.
It's a huge responsibility, but it's also an incredible opportunity. We have the chance to shape the future of creativity.
And that's something we're thinking about. It really does feel like we're at this, tipping point. AI could totally change how we create, even how we experience art.
Oh, absolutely. It's a big moment. But we can't forget that AI is just a tool. It's up to us how we use it.
Right. We could use it to make amazing new stuff or just, more of the same old stuff.
Exactly.
And speaking of choices, Flora's made some interesting ones with their pricing.
Oh, yeah. What are they doing?
So they've got a free version, but with limitations. And then their pro plans start at $16 a month.
That's smart.
I think so, too. It lets them reach more people.
Right. Students, independent artists, people who might not be able to pay a lot for a subscription.
Exactly. The free version lets you try it out to see what Flora can do.
And if you need more, you can upgrade. Makes sense.
It's like a gateway drug to AI-powered creativity.
I like that. And the more people who use it, the better chance Flora has of becoming the standard.
Right, like what Photoshop is for image editing.
Yeah, exactly. And that could really shake things up.
Big time. If Flora becomes that popular, it could make these powerful AI tools available to way more people.
That's one of the things I'm most excited about. It's not just about making things easier for the pros. It's about giving everyone the tools to be creative.
And who even knows what kind of amazing art that'll lead to, right?
It's impossible to say, but the possibilities are huge. We could see this whole new generation of artists who are fluent in like traditional art and AI.
A fusion of styles and mediums we've never even imagined.
Exactly, and it's all happening right now.
Crazy to think about.
Hmm.
So as we wrap up this deep dive on Flora, I want to bring it back to you, the listener. We've covered a lot, the good and the bad.
The potential, the challenges.
But at the end of the day, it's up to each of us to decide how we want to engage with this technology. Are you excited about it?
A little nervous, maybe?
What role do you see AI playing in your creative life? Because these aren't just hypothetical questions anymore.
This is real, it's happening now, it's going to affect us all.
So we're at this crossroads. Do we embrace the power of AI and use it to, supercharge our creativity?
Or do we resist it and risk falling behind?
It's a tough question. Yeah. But having these conversations, that's what matters. Exploring what AI means for us as creators, as humans.
And that's what we try to do here on the deep dive, right? Give you the info, the different sides of the story, so you can decide for yourself.
Exactly. Now, on that note, I want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Flora. We'll see you next time.